Elden Ring is one of the most anticipated games of this year, but with little to no official news on it recently, we've had to turn to leaks and rumours. However, some of the most recent leaks may actually have some validity to them when you look at them in comparison to the trailer. Now, a Chinese SOULSBORNE content creator uploaded a video recently, but it got taken down. In that video, there was a fair few leaks, including some concept art, but a lot of information as well. I'm going to have a little look at this information and sort of try and find that middle line for you right here. The first piece of information I want to look at is the fact that it says that the game is based on the world tree known as Yggdrasil from Norse mythology. Now, this is very interesting because when we look at how this ties into the rest of the things, it starts to make a lot of sense. When you go back and look at the trailer, there's some Norse influence in there straight away. When you look at the helmet, it looks similar to the Valkyrie style design that we've seen in many other games. And if you actually take time out to watch it back slowly, you start to see the similarities, not just in the design of the helmet, but also in the hairstyles. There's a lot of sort of plaited hairstyles going on, and I think these things give us a point towards the Norse mythology. Now, a few people are saying that it could be Celt, but I think it's going to be Norse based on this information that we're getting. Yggdrasil is a tree that exists outside of the 9 worlds in Norse mythology. Now, if you play God of War, you will understand the different realms, because you visit some of them, not all of them. But in a poem from the sagas, when Odin mentions Yggdrasil, what we find out is that one of the routes goes over hell, one of them goes over Jotun, and one of them goes over the mankind's world. Now, Jotun, as we know, is Jotunheim, which is the land of the giants, and mankind itself is, like Midgard area. So, why does that have such relevance when talking about this game? Well, one of the major rumors about this game has been that there is a giant-like race, and that's one of the actual pieces of leaked concept art that we see. And not only is this character seen in the trailer, but it's now seen in the concept art right here. Now, according to the leak, this character is badly wounded. His faction is characterized by its white hair. I think that must be red hair, because he's got red hair in the trailer, but it says white hair here anyway. And is part of 2 factions known in the game, which came from the same ancestry line, but split up in recent years. Now, that kind of makes sense when you look at having giants down one route of Yggdrasil and humans down another. I kind of think that works very well narratively for talking about the split, especially if we're going for this sort of Norse mythology vibe. Now, some people are saying that it's not necessarily Norse mythology, but there's going to be a massive influence. I'm going to read some more of the leaks, and we can sort of start to look at how this all plays out. The gameplay is similar to Dark Souls, and that's been reported before by various sources, which makes sense, it's a FromSoftware game. But the map is much larger, new features and dynamic weather systems / night and day system as well, means that you might be fighting a boss from the start of the day to the end of the day with weather changing around you, which I think is very, very cool as well. But yeah, again, this kind of ties a little bit into this sort of Norse vibe, you got people like Thor that sort of can change the weather and things like that. So while it may not be directly taken from stories from the saga and stuff, it does seem like there's a lot of mythology being worked into here. Some of the other information is the guy with a lot of hands in the beginning of the trailer that we saw is most likely an NPC. Fair enough, probably a main story character. We have to remember that with George R.R. Martin being a part of this, this is probably going to be the most cinematic FromSoftware game that we get as far as narratives and stuff goes. And the Crestfallen dude will appear again. I believe he's a merchant from the Dark Souls game, so that sort of makes sense. There'll be a black clothes NPC taking the role of the Firekeeper in tradition to Soulsborne's games, which, is seen across the board. We've also got information saying that patches may not appear, which I don't buy for a second. I don't buy for a second. But it says, or he may not appear in human form, sort of like how we saw him as a spider in Bloodborne, which makes a fair bit of sense, Hopefully we get sort of like, I want to see Odin patches or something, but that's just me personally. And other than that, it says that the game's pretty much been completed, but now they're just polishing it. Now, I mean, that's fairly a safe bet when anyone sorts of talks about rumors and leaks, It's easy to be like, oh, well, they've pretty much finished the game, which is how I know I just think the most important takeaway from this is we've had a few rumors talking about giants. We've got a few rumors talking about humans. We've got the idea of Yggdrasil, which links the two together and also being a main part of the storyline. We've got this idea of the map being a lot more open world in this case. I feel like Yggdrasil would be the perfect middle point for that all. A vantage point where you can sort of see all of the realms, quote unquote, sort of realms and stuff. And the idea of just humans going to war with giants seems like a very, very solid idea that works into FromSoftware's sort of game style, but at the same time, something that George R.R. Martin would really probably sort of work out. He likes to look at, you know, the mix between sort of modern day problems, you know, things like racism and politics and all of that kind of stuff, but work it into a sort of way that works in, you know, a mythical sense. We've also had rumors saying that there'll be wolves and dragons. Again, that's something that's not very, very far away from a lot of the stories that you get in Norse mythology again. But we also have a fair few people saying that it's potentially going to be Celtic mythology. Again, no, Celtic, Norse mythology, they're fairly similar in a lot of ways, not all the ways, but they have a fair bit of crossover in sort of their ideals and beliefs. Those sort of stories come from things around them. The pagan ideology comes a lot from the earth and the animals and the creatures around it. So I think if he's pulling in influences along these lines, we're going to get a very, very solid game. But to me, I think we can sort of validate these leaks to some degree. I'm not going to say just because he's got concept art, but the way that, as I've pointed out, the idea of that monster that we've seen in the trailer being a giant, the idea that we've got Yggdrasil being tied in to the storyline, and rumors of Norse mythology mixed in with stuff that we've seen in the trailer as I go through it here. Like, firstly, you've got this sort of hammer looking thing. Apparently the Elden Ring is going to be broken. But yeah, as we look, right? You got the dude forging the ring here, I'm assuming, right? That works in. You got this lady who, while looks kind of Bodicea-esque, is 100% right here. Got a very Valkyrie-styled look to her. This in itself, if you just look at everything that's going on right here, this is all very, very Viking. This is very, very Viking. So then to have the idea of the humans versus the giants in a battle for Yggdrasil, maybe the battle for the tree of life itself, just ties in. This giant looking dude right here, it seems like a fairly good bet to make. And even this guy that is hammering, I believe this is the guy hammering away. Yeah, this is the guy with the hammer right here. Even this guy, if you look at the hairstyle, again here, very pagan, but again, everything you see here looks very, very Norse. The fact that this guy's banging away in his hammer looks very, very Thor-esque to me anyway. So I feel like these leaks have a lot of validity, and they also hint a fair bit at where the story is going to go. Humans versus giants in a battle for control over all of the realms. Kind of makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts and feelings. Hopefully we're going to get a lot more information on Elden Ring very soon, along with a release date. But I just think this seems like a big step in the right direction in gathering information. Could just be me. I've been thinking about it for a couple days. I didn't want to put a video out until I had a fairly solid idea of where I think they're going with this. But yeah, let me know.